going on, guys? It's X, and welcome back to the channel. Today we got more premium collection reviews. Uh, we got a lot this time because it started technically on Tuesday evening, so and then we went all the way up till Friday. Yeah, we went all the way up to Friday. So now we've got a bunch of cards for premium collection to review, and this is gonna be a long one. I'm gonna tell you right now. So be sure to use those timestamps officially, especially if you wanna kind of, I'm just gonna let you a heads up. You probably want to skip the Gear Chronicle rant. Also, I found out why that original when the first video had that weird issue. Turns out my mic is starting to die, so I'm gonna have to get a new one soon. But I think that's enough rambling. Let's actually get to premium collection reveals. So we start off with Spike Brothers. It's immediately after Aqua Force from Jaime. We get Spike Brothers, and we start with Lawless King Gary Gabaros. He's astride, of course, and Auto Vanguard Circle. When your rear guard attacks, that unit gets power plus 10k to the end of the battle. At the end of that battle, put that unit to the bottom of your deck. It's also not optional, just keep that in mind. And Auto Vanguard Circle. When this unit attacks, you pay the cost of Soul Blast 1 and search your deck for up to 2 grade 2 or lower cards. Call them to empty rearguard circles and shuffle your deck. Then all your rear guards get boosted to the end of the turn. To say that this card is actually just, I can't even be like, oh, to say this. No, this card is really, this is the first stride Spikes needed ever since Agrius pretty much kind of became issue. And I mean that more so because Agrius, like, to get his value is, obviously second stride and over. But with the way Spikes Brothers were originally built, second stride and over usually meant Hell Hard 8, or you were really behind in tempo. So it didn't really mean a good thing if you were striding Agrius. Not because Agrius is bad by any means, but because Hell Hard 8 is just that nasty. So having a first stride that does this much, right? Because it gives your front row plus 10k, meaning like your grade 1s are probably like 17, 18k attackers by themselves before any additional power added. Then they vacate to make sure you don't call over stuff. So that's good. Like your grade 2s are, you're primarily gonna run the V era grade 2s, but now I think this kind of gives you a little bit more access to those old grade 2s that are, just 9k power from G Spikes. So that's another addition too. Is like another addition about this card is that now, like, some of your older cards actually have more relevance. Though that remains to be seen whether or not they will actually see play. The deck has actual lanes in which you can transition into doing other stuff. So that's good. I appreciate that. So that first skill already is helps make older cards more relevant. Makes grade 1s able to hit by themselves prior to any other boost and whatnot. Sorry. And then the second skill, just being a Soul Blast for searching up to 2 grade 2 or lowers, is pretty good, and also giving rear guards boost. So if you have kind of some awkward columns like grade 2 or grade 3 in the back that you push down for a much more stronger attacker, you didn't just call over. Now that unit can boost, and your Juggernaut maximum, say that you kind of put in the grade 2 because you need probably a on attack get something unit. Now is actually just a 13k or 23k, I guess, booster, which is pretty powerful. Not saying you're probably gonna still run Juggernaut maximum at this point, But I'm just saying, like, hey, it's still there. You know, just kind of telling you like how powerful the boot, how kind of like underrated the boost is actually. So, I you know, this is pretty much like, what if we combine the brake ride, you know, the old brake ride combo with you know, if you play Zero, like, you know, the breaker combo of Bad End, Dudley, was it Dudley, was it Geronimo? Dudley Emperor, excuse me, Dudley Emperor, Bad End, Break Ride combo, that was a thing. And they kind of just put it all in one card, so. And for a Soul Blast 1, which, you know, Spike Brothers is a Dark Stone clan, you got Soul for days, hopefully. So, it's very good. That's what I'm trying to say, it's very good. And yeah, it's your new first stride. You can finally start the process of not relying on Hellheart 8 as much as whatever, and now you don't have to like also rely on Agrias as well. I think, you know, the obvious thing is because it doesn't flip, you kind of now are just kind of GB1, where it's like Agrias, while it isn't as strong anymore, it still did flip. So it really depends on what your type of play style for Spike Brothers is and what you want to do with it. And, you know, that's pretty much it. On to the Spike Brothers G Guard, Compassion Princess, Villainous Ebeda. She has the skill of Auto. When its units put the Guardian Circle, Combos 1, choose 3 normal units from your drop zone, and this unit gains their total original shield values to the end of the battle. If you chose, you know, I'm sorry for the typo there, I didn't double check. If you chose one or more grade 3 cards, draw 1 card. Then put all cards chosen from this ability to the bottom of your deck in any order. So, first off, this is a pretty alright G Guard. I don't think it's like as, you know, over like thinking about it. It's like, it's not as like strong as everybody was kind of making it out to be, because Counter Blast 1, Spike Brothers do kind of eat Counter Blast a lot, and you could get like damage denied out, so it definitely would mean like if you get like damage denied, you burn the Counter Blast, meaning you kind of like take a damage, and you know, in premium that's kind of dangerous. I need 1 damage, might get clapped and just take 5, depending on the deck. So that's one thing. But, you know, outside like the counterblast cards, I think it's still a pretty good card, right? Obviously it's choose 3 normal units, so that means no triggers to put back, obviously, meant to kind of like balance the fact that, just saying, like, you could get like what, up to, if we include like normal, I mean, we're probably not going to include normal heals, but say like you get like 45k shield just off the rip for like Combos 1 and put 3 triggers back. This card would be busted. Let's kind of keep it a buck. Like, putting 3 triggers back, getting 45k shield is nasty. And even if you didn't send all 3 triggers back, like the ability to just like choose a grade 3, say like for like Strike Fighter, or like that's another attacker, or like a rewrite target, like the Rising Nova. Say like you put 2 triggers and a Rising Nova back, that's 30k shield and an additional draw. That's pretty good. That's pretty spicy. So I understand why they made normal units. I mean, even with that, it's still like another 15k shield. Like, send a grade 1 and grade 2 back. You know, if you want to send like 3 grade 1s, it's 30k. You can manipulate it to like actually like get you some shield value based on what you need. And if you chose a grade 3, you get an additional draw, meaning like you get, you know, you add more to the pieces, which Spike Brothers loves, gain their pieces. You know, I'm not really like I'm not really as knowledgeable as like Spike Brothers as I was like almost like a year ago. So you can always check out Living Proof, and he did a really good like breakdown on what the 2 Stride and G Guard actually do for the clan. So I recommend kind of like looking at that video. I'll probably put it in the description along with the other announcement videos, so keep that in mind. But overall, still solid G guard. Like they're up to this point. Uh, Even if some of those G guards have issues, they haven't really been like bad cards per se. That changes later, but we'll get to that. Speaking of getting to that, next we had Vanguard Insiders reveals, which of course were Gear Chronicle, and we start with the Stride, which is Eyebrow Steam Shalishma. I can't deal with these names. So it has the skill of Auto Vanguard Circle once per turn. When its unit attacks, cost bind a front row rear guard. Turn your G zone card face up. Choose up to 2 cards from your bind zone, call them to rear guard circle, and all your front row units get power plus 10k till end of turn. And as the second skill of Auto G Zone, at the end of battle, your grade 3 rear guard attacked. If this card is face up, call Soul Blast 1 and bind that unit and call this card a rear guard circle. Okay, so I'm gonna be honest. I don't know how I'm gonna kind of describe this because it's conflicting on this. I'm not saying this is a bad stride, far from that. I think it's a really good stride, right? I think it's trying to do too much and ends up kind of not really helping all the issues Gear Chronicle has. So some people are like, what do you mean Gear Chronicle has issues? Like, wasn't it like one of the best decks for like years? Well, yes. However, there are a lot of things that happened during V and in the premium collections which kind of hurt it. First off, the increase of just base power in the grade 3 Vanguards, like even 12k, kind of shut down the timely engine because Melum can no longer just hit by herself, meaning she needs a marker, and a defensive with the new 10k triggers basically shuts that down as well. So defensive shuts it down, and just breathing shuts them down. Now history history build, the first stride from the first premium collection attempted to fix that, which was, give all the timely units plus 3k, so like History Maker can attack. But again, the issue is your main attacker is Melum, and Melum has Time Leap nowhere on her because she's supposed to be not a Steam Breath. What's his name? The Gear Dragon. She's supposed to be like the grade 1 version of the Gear Dragon. So she's just still as 11k. And, even with force markers, still at 11k. And that was before we had a current gen Vanguard where the entire deck can actually, like, have a 13k, have force markers, have the current gen name, and it all be active. So that's one issue with Gears at the point. The second issue is Grog Rock, while cool, really, how do I put this? It wasn't what the deck needed either. It wasn't what the clan needed. It was nice, but at that point you had really only had like 2 builds. You had Jet and you had Fang. You probably could, I think, like Mystery Flare. I think Mystery Flare would have been a cool idea, but it's just like it just wasn't gonna work, especially with how much you had to bind from field. So even if you did kind of do some Mystery Flare shenanigans, you still would have to like top deck something. So it just wasn't it for that either. So Jet and Fang were pretty much the only 2 builds, and Fang has an issue in V and Premium, in which its V support and its G support are completely like anti-synergistic. Because V support requires discarding, and G support requires binding, and yeah, we can put it together. So really only left the Chronojet build, which, yeah, you could do like his Grog Rock into next stage into Jet, and that's a nice thing. But you still, again, the bind 4 from was it? I knew it had more to the cost, I think, but it was like buying 4 from the field still really hurt, and just really meant like you had to like you had to position yourself well. You couldn't really like the flexibility just wasn't as there. This kind of get. So at this point, like Gears kind of went like, I won't say over to, but like you could definitely, it definitely was like, yeah, no, this ain't it. Like, it definitely just struggle bus. Also, like if you hear like any like weird sounds, I apologize. I have to hold my mic like this now because the only way it's gonna catch sounds normally. It can no longer just have it on the desk there. But I'm rambling. Sorry, but hey, this is why you're here. So obviously Slishma kind of had some weird expectations on it, as if you don't really have like a strong foundation in your stride zone right now for generic gears, and this is kind of like the biggest problem with like G gears, which was like all its powerful stuff was like high incredible jet, so it never really had like generic stuff, which, you know, this is like our first like really like good generic stride in a minute. You know, it isn't like timely locked, or isn't just like -4, try and kill your opponent like super next stage. So yeah, it's a good stride, but the problem is like just Gears has a lot of issues. This is probably like this is a nice step towards the right direction. I can't believe we probably just spent like a good 6 to 10 minutes on this stride without really talking about the stride itself. But you know, extending for two more attacks is okay. You know, end your battle, your grade 3 rear guard attack, it effectively kind of like pseudo time leaps into itself, get a third attack, and was kind of more so meant to kind of like combine like steam maidens and time leap and just, you know, good generic good stuff together. So it, you know, it has that problem. Its problem is it just, you had to do too much, and instead, you know, jack of all trades, master of none. So that's kind of my stance on that. That's my final thoughts on that. So remember I said we were having like a good run of G guards, or at least like they were pretty decent. This card, History Vision Dragon, has the skill of auto when its units put in a guardian circle. Cost: discard one or more cards with the sum of their grades being grade 3 or greater from your hand, and its unit gets shield plus 20k until the end of that battle. If you discarded cards with the sum of their grades being 6 or greater for this cost counterblast 1, choose one of your units, and it cannot be hit until the end of that battle. You know, I'll say this. Their solo key just has the perfect guard clause, because we would not run this. Or it's complicated. Okay, so kind of let me like talk about why this card itself is kind of like a contentious thing for Gear Chronicle players and kind of players in general. First off, to G guard, you're already calling this out. No, you already had to discard a heal, which was not easy to probably get this card, and then you're being told to discard cards with their similar grades being grade 3 or greater. So at minimum, you have to discard an additional card to get shield plus 20. Excuse me. So, well, yes, that grade 3 would probably be kind of theoretically useless and get shield plus 20k. And yes, I know about smoke gear having the ability, but that's one, you running a jet build. That requires you running a jet build, which, you know, primarily you're gonna do. And two, that also requires your opponent to not kill smoke gear. they know you're running this. They know what power Smoke Gear technically has, which is like turning anything into a Strike Father. They're going, if they have the ability to, they're going to snipe it. There's no if, ands, or buts about it. They will snipe it as hard as possible, as fast as possible. So you can't also always rely on Smoke Gear to have this. So it's clunky in that regard of anti-Smoke Gear, having it's really clunky. And with Gears build really only running like your 4 of grade 3, maybe 5, and then the whatchamacallit, the grade 4 like next stage, etc, whatever, Time Reaper, whatever. I don't know how Gears are run. I just talked for like a good 6-7 minutes about how the deck is like a hot mess. So excuse me. So grade 3, I kind of misread it, but it's kind of like being shield plus 20k for a discard one at minimum. I think the at minimums was really kind of getting a lot of people, because it's like, so we also have to additionally discard for the base shield value. Meanwhile, we literally just looked at Spike Brothers literally just about good 5-10 minutes ago, and they got a G guard that literally is like Counterblast 1. You can draw 1 and recycle your deck. It's really weird. It's kind of weird there in that regard. And then being 6 or greater, meaning now you have to discard at least 2 to get the Counterblast 1 treat against endgame in battle. So for effectively a -3 to PG, when we just kind of like talked about last episode about Spike Brothers being recycle 5 grade 1s to PG, Great Nature literally just hit 1 card, or if you're on Isabel, you can choose whatever the heck you want to get the PG. Gears, you got discard 2 and Counterblast 1. We're not for the fact that like we have the Ularoos and for ZTB, which ain't even really a deck, has their G guard. It's disappointing, really. It's honestly disappointing. And it's not, I'm not trying to be like a Gear fan. Man, we were at the top for so long. What happened? Oh my god. It's just, I wouldn't want any like clan to have a card like this. I wouldn't want a clan that says discard 1 to get 20k shield in a deck that doesn't really work like that, right? The discard stuff, it's also like, well, doesn't Chronofang discard? The discard stuff works for our turn, because we want to have as low cards as possible going into Chronofang's like attack to get all the effect value, and then use these skills to recur that with the triple drives, with the quad drives, with the extra draws, etc. Like, we don't want to be in the middle of the opponent's turn losing extra value that we don't losing all that value. I'm just rambling, man. What I'm trying to say is like, this card is only being run because it's a PGG card. I think we could like shield up the other values somewhere else, but it is pretty much there because of that PG clause to get over some shenanigans, and that's really it. So that's what I can say there. All right, so now we're into Royal Paladin. We have Triumphant Holy Knight Eulogius. He has the skill of Auto Vanguard Circle. When his unit attacks, costs Counterblast 1. Turn 1 card from your G zone face up, and draw cards from your deck equal to your number of rear guards, and choose the same number of cards from your hand as the number of cards you've drawn, and call them to rearguard circle. Then, if you have 5 more rear guards, gain an imaginary gift force. So this one's kind of odd, right? It's kind of like a remake of that grade 3, which You draw cards, you play it, you like counterblast 3, draw cards, and then call the same number of cards you drew, and place them. Something similar to that. And it's pretty much like a better version of that. So, and I would say like if like we take a look at like probably the best builds in Royals right now, which is ironically Jewel Knights. This does work in Jewel Knights. I mean, it's generic enough to work in any Royal Paladin deck, but it definitely does work in Jewel Knights. Primarily, I think it's primarily just kind of to be there to like boost it up, be another multi-attacker and whatnot. So it works, but it works in a spot where Crystal Luster Salome effectively does the same thing, but you get an additional Vanguard attack as well. So it's kind of like, and your GB3, you basically get another GB3, you get guard restrict too. So I would say like if this is more so kind of like a situational card for like Jewel Knights, in which you counterblast 1, you get the effects, but it's like you don't have like a lot of like Jewel Knights, so it's pretty much just they're coming like, okay, I need to get my board active, so I need to draw cards, refix. It's pretty much like if you need to fix your hand for a push and you don't want to go into Crystal History yet, so, you could do this. You could do this instead, but more than times like the Crystal Luster is pretty much play. God, I hate Crystal Luster. Crystal Luster is such a bad design card. That's all I gotta say. On to the G Guard. Holy Staff of Truth, Margos. Let's see. It has the skill of auto. When it's used, put the Guardian Circle. Choose one of your grade 2 units, and if you're gonna turn, it gets shield plus 10k. And auto, when its unit intercepts, costs Con plus 1, Soul plus 1, and choose one of your units that cannot be hit until the end of the battle. Gee, Royals, how come you get the PG but not hard minusing? Okay, salt aside, this is an okay G Guard. While it doesn't get shield by itself, it does have the ability to just kind of like to give shield somewhere else and a skill to a unit that can intercept. So if you don't need the actual PG just right then, you have more flexibility by like choosing. Oh, say I know the Vanguard, I can't Sentinel, but like I can block this Vanguard just with Margos. Block with Margos, give it to like my grade 2. Then when the Vanguard attacks, I intercept, counter blast 1, soul blast 1. I get a PG skill. Or if you don't need a PG, the intercept is now 15k. So you effectively kind of have another 15k, another 10k shield, another 15k shield later, or a PG later. It's a lot more. It's a very flexible G Guard. It's not like immediate power, but it's, you can do some shenanigans there. And one of the things about Royal Paladin was this: outside of Brave or Brave like decks, Royal Paladin doesn't really have like a great generic G Guard. And this kind of fixes that. So, hey, I don't think Royal Paladin players are gonna be mad to take this. Certainly better than the Gear Chronicle players. Okay. I'm gonna stop now. No, I won't. All right, time for the card that got everybody upset for not him. Toxic Mutant Deity, Malignantes? I don't know. Anyway, anybody care about his name? He has the skill of Act, Vanguard Circle, or G-Zone, once per turn. If this card is on Vanguard Circle, you can pay turn 1 card from your G-Zone face up for this cost instead. So basically, the skill, which would be, if this card's face up, cost combos 1, but Vanguard Soul will be directly errated into just Persona Flip. Or just generic G Flip. So, if this card's face up, I already talked about the cost, combos 1, put a Vanguard Soul, and choose one of your opponent's rear guards to stand and retire it. If you retired it, draw 1 and countercharge 1. If you did not retire it, choose one of your opponent's Vanguards and it gets power minus 10k till end of turn. So, for those of you who aren't really in the know, okay, let me just review this card generically itself. It's okay. I like the fact that it has a G-Zone skill that you can pay instead. I like meaning like it has some actual value outside of just striding it. Say like you go into late turns, Overwhelm or Optorandus, and you actually get something out of him as well, so you're not just crazy. Also, it's not a hard one to return, so you can potentially just like do multiple of these, as it does effectively repay itself for the Rearguard and Soul and the Cannon Blast by drawing additional card and countercharging. So it kind of pays for itself. You retire, etc., etc. And if it doesn't, regardless, if your opponent's board is gone, your opponent's Vanguard just minus 10k, which Megacolony is kind of very limited. It's multi-attack most of the time. We'll get to it. And so having like a actual like kind of attempt at like a finisher of being like your opponent's Vanguard minus 10k, giving kind of like a Shiryu, kind of like a poisoning, is actually okay. So I think the card by itself is fine. But I think what got everybody upset was the fact that Gordor is a card, which I'll probably put Gordor up here on the screen somewhere, but Gordor is very much like a boogeyman in the format in Premium. And I think eventually I kind of want to go back and kind of like do like a retrospective on Premium Collection 1. But suffice to say that as time has gone on, that Premium Collection has become more and more of a hot mess. As like more and more of the decks that is supported become stronger and stronger, with V and Overdrive support coming out more. But Gordor's ability to just almost hard stun your opponent's board from calling a set of hand, getting stun with Vanguard. I don't know what stun with Vanguard Gordor does. But also the ability that when it attacks, you count plus 1, call something, so you can use Gordora. You can use Gordora, call Heldemise, stand the rest of rear guard. Now you've got 5 attacks, and you add on to this that if your opponent literally just has nothing on board, they get minus 10k, just minus 10k, and it becomes hard for them to guard. Kind of pushing for like a finishing turn. So that's kind of like this kind of things. Like I think Gordor is pretty much one of the kind of. I think what the issue with Gordor is that it is pretty much a actual like the base definition of what just what my friends have told me who have played like Magic or other TCGs. It's kind of like the actual like base control deck at its like purest form, at the perfect form. It's the perfect cell of control decks right now, which is we stun you, we force you to play differently, we force you to play the R game, and then when we're ready, it's time to close out the game. And Maligma over here just actually gets you to where that the deck really needs to be. So that's why people are talking about that's why people, when you see all the talks about on Reddit or Twitter or Facebook about Gordor needs to be hit. This is one of the reasons why, and it's not it's not the primary reason, because Gordor still has problems himself. It's only really strong because for some reason they decided to give Megacolony good cards now of all times, but and Order Colony is now a thing, and it's something, right? So that's kind of thing there. Now, as for the G Guard, Binding Mutant Deity Grappler, some kind of point out looks kind of like the Type A, for gun fans. But, has the skill of auto. When it's put in a Guardian Circle, Soul Blast 1, and this unit gets shield plus 30k until the end of the battle. Your opponent chooses any number of their rear guards and rests them. For each unit rested, this unit gets shield minus 10k to the end of the battle. Obviously, it's pretty much Soul Blast 1 and 30k. Because pretty much it's only like if your opponent really needs the attack to go through, or feels like they can like steal some more if the opponent really thinks that this is the end of the attack and they can like probably steal a little bit more shield value from you, outside of that you're probably not gonna get rested. It is pretty much just shield plus Soul Blast 1 for shield plus 30k, which isn't bad, which is actually pretty good. And it's the thing, but I don't really think there's not a lot of negatives to this card, honestly. Your opponent would have to be like really, really greedy to kind of like say no. Your opponent would have to kind of be like scared of, well, I want this attack to go through. I already talked about like they want the attack to go through, so they might rest like two of their boosters. It depends on when you actually use the card though, so that's a good question. So it's like they might rest like their 2 boosters, which would probably got them over the edge on other attacks. They'd be like, no, I want to finish this now. I don't want to do anything else. Get me out of the game. So it's not a bad G guard. It's actually pretty nice. 30k shield for basically free is okay, and has some ideas of control options, probably like Brilliant Blister and whatnot. All right, on to Tachikaze. We have Explosive Magnate, Gigantolo. What the? Okay, so it has a skill. It has the Gorge skill, which most Tachikaze strides have. It has the skill Auto Vanguard Circle. When its units engorge, cost combo one flip a card Jizo face up. By the way, for those of you who don't know, engorged is basically like when it attacks, you eat one of your rear guards. For people who are new to premium and whatnot. So it's pretty much just like, it's pretty much an on-attack skill, and that's why it says when you use engorge. So it's basically like when its unit attacks happening. So cost combo one flip a card Jizo face up. Choose the same number of your rear guards as the number of units retired for this unit's ability during this turn. Until in turn they get power plus 10k. And auto rear guard circle. Once per turn, at the end of the battle, this unit attack costs Soul Blast 1 to stand this unit. So say you engorge 2, you eat 2 on attack, you counter 1, flip the card, your G's on face up. Choose 2 your rear guards, they get plus 10, and they get the ability to Soul Blast 1 to stand, which is actually pretty nasty. It is effectively kind of similar to what's his name, and people kind of give it like, oh man, it's another Anger Blader in a way, which kind of it's very much a delayed Anger Blader, in which the actual rear guard can attack twice if you put some crits on it, or like an over trigger or something, where it's like, oh, now that rear guard can actually attack twice and get some more value at your triggers and whatnot. So it's actually kind of arguably at points stronger than Anger Blader, depending on what happens. Engorge is always the Tachikaze thing. Tachikaze the sub cards that revive when eaten, so it's not that big of a deal. And the 10k is really nice. So this is pretty good stride, and he has the blicky, so he means business. On to the G guard, Blockade Marquis Regardier. Has the skill auto when he's put on Guardian Circle. Retire one or more of your rear guards, and for each unit retired, this for this cost, gets his shield plus 10k until in the battle. For each unit retired for this cost that was equipped with an equip gauge, you draw an additional card. So, obviously, shield plus 10k, you eat 1, shield plus 10k, 20k if you eat 2, 30k if you eat 3, etc, etc. And if they had equipped gauges, which the deck does do, you get when you draw a card and gain those cards back, you kind of recur your value from those cards. So that's pretty okay, I think. But the biggest issue, more so because of the way Tachikaze works in premium, because it is a combination of equip gauges and engorging, you can almost, this Gear kind of helps with the issue of Tachikaze does burn through their deck really fast, which, you know, makes sense because it's meant to be a deck where just like it hits hard fast and like burns out and get, you know, hurt. You know, it's meant to burn out, etc. You know, it's the dinosaurs. Dinosaurs didn't live for much longer, so understandable. And really, is like you have to take care of where your deck is, whatnot. Tachikaze requires a player that wants to that pays attention to the deck and pays attention to the state of the game. If you don't want to, like deal with that, you know, this is probably ain't the deck for you, even if it's like cool dinos with guns. It's an okay G guard and has value, but that value will depend on the game state itself. So yeah, there's that. All right, on to not Vanquisher, not Vermilion. We've got the TIE Fighter reveal, which is Fighting Emperor Dragon, Merciless Dragon. It has a skill of Auto Vanguard Circle. When your rear guard stands by a card's ability, counterblast 1 and discard 2 cards from your hand, stand this unit, and if it's your main phase, attack your opponent's Vanguard this unit. It has also the second skill of Auto Vanguard Circle. At the end of battle, this unit attack, this unit gets drive +1 to enter. Okay, so I'm trying to think of something to say about this card here. I know that Noble Grappler has kind of like a weird thing in premium. I think the deck is really fun. I think Victor is an amazingly fun deck. But outside of that, my knowledge of Noble Grappler premium right now kind of just stops there. I know Beast Deities are pretty much what the stride is like, kind of like trying to work with, because they don't really have a good stride. Ethics Catastrophe is not great, and the Vector stuff is, you know, all the other like strides don't really work the way the Beast Deities work. So this is kind of like its attempt to try and like fix that. So that's what this is. This is kind of like this is a Beast Deity stride without saying Beast Deity, because they don't really Beast Deity name. So on that regard, in a Beast Deity deck, I'd say this is really good. I say this kind of like really works. I don't really have anything much to say outside of that. I think outside of that, that's where he kind of struggles to kind of like give this card a good praise, because all the other decks that work in premium Noble Grappler would probably like kind of like consider this probably as a one of, but I don't think it's like a insta slot, because they just have Buster, they have just like so many other stuff that like those specific decks would rather kind of run, and it'd be hard to kind of justify it. And then you also have to consider the G guard in a sense. So, you know, I think the card's fine. I think the card's really nice, but I don't think it's like game breaking or game changing for the clan. It definitely helps Beast Deities actually kind of have like a presence in premium. So there's that. I think just having main phase attacks is pretty cool, because that means, you know, it's very similar to kind of like games where you could just like, I guess you can kind of say it's kind of like a Digimon style like play, which is like, yeah, you can still attack, but you can also like call cards, use cards, etc. And then you can actually have your actual battle phase, and you just swing. But, you know, there's a lot more like plays you can do, and more advantage you can gain from that. I think it's kind of like say. So on to the G guard, Miyakazu Stiff Need. Auto, when it's placed in guard circle, counterblast 1. Well, here we go. Counterblast 1 or more cards and you get shield plus 5k till in the battle for each face down card you damage zone. If you pay Counterblast 2 or more for this cost, draw a card. And you pay Counterblast 3 or more, draw a card. Okay, so this is definitely on the weaker side of G guards, primarily for the fact that Nova Grappler usually likes using its Counterblast on your turn, and would like to use its G guards to refund that cost. So it's very awkward in the fact that it needs to Counterblast 1 up front to get the shield. Not to mention it's really for this whole thing where you need 3 damage, which again I've kind of like talked about in premium. Like it's hard to kind of like, I talked earlier, it's like, man, premium is a format where it's like you could go steady and then it'll be like those 1 or 2 games where you just get popped up to 5. So it's very awkward in that regard. But that being said, having a G guard that is pretty much just says if you Counterblast 3, you get 50k shield and 2 draws, isn't terrible. It's just not, I don't think exactly what the deck needed for G guards. That being said, you can it will rely on the combo power of the other G guards, meaning you kind of need 2 heals for this to really get like the max value out of it, and it's very niche. It's a more niche G guard than I think people were expecting. I think on the right circumstances it would be very powerful, but it is pretty much just kind of like it's very situational, and that is kind of all I gotta say. There's not really much there. All right, on to Gold Paladin, which is interesting. We have Glorious Golden Knight Edivalius, which for the first time, like, I think it's like the first like female unit as a strive for golds, like, because everything else has been like G guards or dragons, or they've just been just dragons in general. So Edivalius has the skill of continuous Vanguard circle. All your rear guards placed by a card's abilities turn get power plus 5k. Not bad. For first skill is not bad. It's a nice power buff to goals, which call a lot from abilities and whatnot. So that skill is just generically good. And it has the second skill of auto Vanguard circle once per turn. When its unit attacks, costs combos 1. Put all your rested rear guards at the bottom of your deck in any order. Choose up to 2 cards from your hand and call them rear guard circle. If you put 4 more cards back to your deck, at the end of that battle, stand this unit gets dry mods till the end of the turn. I'm conflicted. It's another conflicting stride because finally, like, golds get a restander, which definitely helps with like their kind of like hard matchups against say a Link Joker, or not to mention also kind of helps go against Order Colony. I kind of talked about that later. So that's a pretty good idea. The issue is Order Colony is probably just like so powerful. I don't know if this will actually help you completely, for one, and then 2, not to mention having to get the full restand requires putting 4 more cards back to the deck. You don't straight retire them, so that's good, but it's still like probably like it's still -4. It's still -4 to kind of like to make sure like you can restand and you get dry -2. It was like dry -1, or maybe like just not. Maybe dry -1 would be okay. Would be okay here. I think dry -2 is probably like too steep a cost for that. But that's just me. And then yeah, also another thing I kind of thought about was like for the Link Joker matchup, it's like, well, you're kind of this issue of if you're at a state in the game in which you're losing to Link Joker that isn't like some weird reverse build. I don't think your deck's having a fun time regardless. I think just you came in here probably to skill. Sorry, but I think the stride's okay. It's a niche stride that like fills like a certain condition of the deck and might come up handy for certain matchups. I don't think it's that really. I don't think it's really that deep. That's kind of it. I would see like gold players be disappointed, and I understand. But I think it's just a niche card. I think gold still have a couple better strides that are fine. You can live with, I guess you could say. Alright, next we've got the G Guard for Gold Paladin, which is Golden Dragon Sanctified Dragon. Auto, when it's used, put on Guardian Circle, cost, Soul Blast 1. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck, choose up to 2 unit cards from among them, call the Guard Circle, and discard the rest. If you call one or more grade 1 or greater units, draw a card. Pretty good. I like this G Guard. It's okay. I think it's better than the original first G Guard they got. You know, look at top 2, choose 2 units to call from among them. So, you know, it's very similar to kind of like the Quintet Walls. You don't get a big value and whatnot, but it's like, hey, you still get a choice. And, you know, you have some deck thinning in a sense. I mean, it's deck thinning. You're both losing both cards regardless of you guarding with them. But if you got a grade 1 or greater, which most of your deck would probably kind of have somewhat, depending on the state of the game, you get a digital draw. So pretty nice. I don't have really complaints to this. I don't have much to say about it. Just a pretty nice G Guard. That's pretty much it. All right, on to the missing content creator, Solemn's favorite deck, Granblue. We've got Pirate King, Return Darkness, Bartholomew. It has 2 skills. Auto Vanguard Circle, with you attacks, cost, count plus 1. Choose up to 3 cards from your drop with different card names as each other. Fall into Vanguard Circle, and until end of turn, those calling is power plus 5k, excuse me. Second skill, continuous Vanguard Circle. If there are 30 more cards in your drop, when your opponent would call from hand a Guardian Circle, they must call 3 more cards at the same time. So this is kind of like another like late game finisher for Granblue, or depending on how you build your deck, a first strike killer. Now I understand the idea of the first skill, which is like call 3 cards with different names, so you're not just like slamming 2 Skull Dragons off the rip. So it's like you have to actually like pay more costs to get, like, say another Skull Dragon, all that out. But I think you still probably do with like other skills. I think Column Bard. You have other ways to get it out, like Night Storm. So you've got other ways to kind of like combo off and make plays. So there's, you know, the skill is more so just kind of like you pay extra to still kill your opponent anyway. And the 3 skill is very, I'm mixed on it. Here's the thing: the 30 more cards you drop means that you now have 20 cards to work with. Say if you got like 4 cards on board, then you have 4 cards on board, and then we're not just including probably like potential soul you have, the like max 5, then like you have 5, 6 cards in hand. So be like a certain amount of cards left in your deck. Your deck is very thin and very dangerous to deck out, but it tries to compensate by that by saying like at this point your opponent has to guard 3 if they can't. And again, Skull Dragon is a card that exists. It basically says like, yeah, no, this will probably attempt to end the game. Which, if your deck is built the way in Premium, which shenanigans do, I'm more afraid of this card than anything. This is a really good stride for Granblue, and it's like, man, Granblue been eaten. It's, you know, kind of like a small tangent. It's so weird how like these like kind of clans that like were very, very terrible or just kind of like thrown to the wayside for years like a Granblue, like a Megacolony, have now all of a sudden like just shifted into being like top tier clans now. Like that's wild to me. But that's just me. Again, just I don't. This card scares me. All right, and for G Guard we have Phantasm Princess, a mood chanting Oriana. Auto when it's placed in guard circle, count +1. And for every 10 cards you drop, the attacking unit gets critical -1 till end the battle. Pretty nice. Pretty like what is it called? It's a really good situational G Guard that kind of minuses crits. Right? I don't think Granblue was really hurting for like harder, stronger G Guards or anything. Right? They've got they can literally build their deck to be like, oh, I have a play which gets me a Denial Griffin like play that just you draw a card, just we do other stuff, etc. So they didn't really have like a heart for G Guards, but this is still pretty like nice in the repertoire of Granblue G Guards and defensive mechanics that deck can use. And it's like it feels like they want to apologize to Saul for not giving him a slot. So I say Granblue definitely came out like pretty nice here. And on to like the penultimate reveal. We finally have Kagero after so long, bro. I feel like is it me or does it feel like Kagero just doesn't exist? Like I know we made the jokes about Overlord or Clan, but no, I'm literally just saying like it really does feel like Kagero has been like absent. Like it just feels like it's just like a something that's like in the back of your head, but it's like you just don't remember it. It's like, oh, it's like, hey, I'm here too. I'm at the party, and it's like, oh, you're here? I didn't know you walked in. But it's just a non-existing factor in the room. But despite that, we still have Divine Dragon Knight. I like card. Finally, a non-dragon card. Even though it's a Dragon Knight, but regardless. Auto, Vanguard Circle. When its unit attacks, cost, flip a card in G-Cell face up. If your opponent has 3 more open rearguard circles, this unit gets power plus 10k, critical +1, drive +1 until end of the battle. And if it's 5 or more, all your rearguards get power plus 10k to end the turn. So, this is a weird one. Because this is more meant to be kind of like blow up the board Kagero than like any like real like Overlord build or not. It's more akin to kind of like how when Blade Master was meta and how it's like, okay, blow up the board, gain advantage. Very similar to like that when it's like right that. And if it weren't for the fact that last V collection gave us 3 Kagero grade 3s that all kind of deal with like blowing up the board. We have Lawkeeper defensively, we have Blazing Flare offensively. There's also Dauntless Reverse, but that doesn't really count. But you have cards that can just like blow up your opponent's board, and that comes into play with the G Guard later. So in that type of deck, and more like a control bursty focused Kagero, more like akin to like a hard Blaze deck, this is a pretty okay stride. A pretty nice first stride. Doesn't like that you like save like a Ziegenberg for later or a Dumjid Valor for later. But everything else is kind of it's still kind of even in that, because it's like you're flipping. I will say like the best thing about it is that its cost is basically free. All of its other costs kind of are more kind of like placebo because of how you need to like use your other like rear guards or like other like plays with the Vanguard defensively to really get the value off of it. But like 10k crit drive for effectively free, just a flip. And if you like blowing your opponent's entire board, your front row gets plus 10k. Like, oh, not front row, excuse me. All your rear guards get plus 10k. So you got some pretty big columns. I think it's ironically like probably the best like of the Kagero like strides of like, oh, we blow up the board, game value. This is probably like the primary like big version of these, which okay, like I'm not insulted by the cost, which thankfully, right? Like it was like maybe like a Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, then I probably might have a problem with it, but I think the cost of just flip for 10k crit drive +1 ain't terrible. That also gives the board some more power. Like it's something. And we come into the Kagero G Guard Flaming Dragon Dancer Salima. Has a skill of reduce the cards you discard for this cause by 1 for every open Vanguard circle your opponent controls. When it's used put on Guardian Circle, cost Soul Blast 1 and discard 4 cards from your hand. Choose one of your units cannot be hit in the battle. So Kagero is one of the plans that get also a discard G Guard. We gotta keep discarding cards to get a PG skill. However, it does the ability to reduce the cost by 1. And I just talked about your Dragon Law Keeper. Dragon Law Keeper can pretty much like burn your opponent's entire board defensively if the conditions are met, and kind of just like control the board. And for that deck, this card is nasty. For Soul Blast 1 and probably just like a Soul Blast 1 for a PG that you can kind of get away with from like other like Sentinel guarding skills. Pretty nice. In the other decks, however, this is probably gonna be like a discard 2, maybe a discard 3. Heck, maybe at one point just a straight up like discard 4. In which case, you probably use your other G guards. You've still got the Nile Griffin. You still got that other G guard that's Camus 1, get like 10k shield. I don't think just hard trying to push into this unless you're very desperate is a good idea. But it's a nice option to have for those decks. But like I said, this is pretty much in like the Dragonic Law Keeper premium like stance of builds. So this definitely supports that. And so in that regard, it's okay. Everything else is in. And last but not least, we come up to Outer Orange's reveal, which was just at the time of this recording last morning, because I'm recording this now at 3:25 a.m. to get this up by 10. Oh my god, it's 3:25 a.m. Oh my god. Okay. I've been trying to record this earlier and I just kind of got sidetracked, so I fell asleep and whatnot. So last but not least, we got Outer Orange, and once we got what was it called? Once we got the reveal of Granblue, we were kind of like, or and whatnot. I will say it would be funny if she revealed the new Grappler stuff, but whatever. So we pretty much knew it was BT at this point. So we've got Radiant Ocean Hatrada, and when I saw this artwork, I'm gonna be honest, like I was like, yeah, no, this is gonna be something special. Has reindeer like kind of attributes, the silver hair, kind of like the more kind of like gray skin, I guess you could say. Why not? So it's kind of it felt very similar to like reindeer, and so I already had a good feeling when I saw this art like last Friday. But oh my goodness, we're almost an hour and we're almost done. Okay, so it has the skill of when its unit attacks, discard 3 cards to your hand, return all the cards in circles other than Vanguard to your hand. Choose up to 2 cards to your hand and come to Vanguard circle. At the end of battle, Campus 1 Soul Blast 1. Put this unit into your G zone face up. Choose one of your Vanguards and stand it. This card is nasty. I don't think it's completely busted for a couple of reasons, but this card is still really good. So I know people were kind of complaining, saying, "Man, we got Combats 3. I mean, not Combats 3. We got a discard 3 for up front." And it's like, after thinking about like all the stuff this stride like enables, hell yeah, you better discard 3 up front. We're getting off easy for discard 3 up front. If it like Nexus 9, they one of their members like released a video on it, and they're talking like, if this had the Canvas 1 Soul Blast 1 and then you discard 3 later, this card would be nasty. This would probably be the most busted stride in the entire deck, in the entire like premium collection. And I literally just talked about the Granblue card like not even like 20 minutes ago. Oh, sorry. So you have that. So just discard 3, bounce your all the cards on your circles, which means now it's like, oh, this also gets over Link Joker and Order Colony, which at this point, just put Link Joker out as misery, dog. Everybody was so upset over Lock that now Link Joker is literally probably one of the worst clans in the game. Like that clan literally is useless. You can't keep cards locked. Can't keep cards locked on their board unless it's like this. Making locking is almost nigh impossible now. And the deck is now just so weak that really is just like, well, what the heck do you do? You don't really have a finisher. You don't really gain as much advantage as you used to compensate for not having a finisher. Your order, I can't believe it, Megacolony in 2022 does better Link Joker stuff than Link Joker now. And we were literally joking for years about how Link Joker was just better Megacolony. It literally is just like you don't flip the coin around. It's crazy. So, you have that, and then you call 2 cards from hand, which you just rebounced. Call them back, meaning, and not only does Bermuda known for bouncing, and because of that they have when returned to hand and on place effects up the wazoo, so you can now probably get more advantage. Say like you bounce a Aqua you already used and a Lizalot you already used last turn, bounce those back, call them back, get that value, call Lizalot first, call a card, Aqua Force, bounce that back, etc, etc. Then you have the end of the battle skill, which is Canvas 1 Soul Blast 1. Put this back in your G zone, choose one of your Vanguards, and restand it. So now you have access to not just pre-G bosses, but also V bosses. Now, when you're V bosses, and now you can go off even harder than that. So now you've got, you have access to Prism, to potentially duos in the future, to Melody, to Ainge, to Tirua, to Lupina, and now you have access to Reindeer, which if you forgot what Reindeer does, Reindeer basically says, I am a battle phase version of the Gear Chronicle Grade 3s. And I basically so basically the play is like you Helltrotta, you attack with your board, then Helltrotta, bounce everything, call 2 units, get their on-play skills, get some potential bounce skills, then end the battle, you hit your triple drive, you bounces back, you're back on Reindeer, Reindeer attacks, you attack twice, then you search top 10, get any one of your grade 4s, or Tira, or your grade 3s, ride them, you get drive -1, after already getting triple drive, and twin drive, now you get 1 drive. So say you run Tira, you now bounce the cards you probably pulled back to your hand and your opponents. Now you attack again, get 15k, a pretty big Vanguard attack, then skill, discard 1, Canvas 1, restand again. You get 4 Vanguard attacks, possibly. You get multiple, like, depending on what other like grade 3 grade 3, grade 4 you play, you get from like multiple like rear guard attacks, or say you hit a Nezca, you get a booty load of markers. Meaning, like at that point, like the advantage from the discard 3, while looks nasty up front, means that front, when you look at the advantage you would get from it, it's arguably like very, very minuscule in that sense. So you have that. Excuse me. So it's a very, very good stride, and gets stronger with time as time goes on. So it's nice. It's a pretty good stride. There's not much to say after that. It's pretty much what's being needed, because they really needed a good first stride, and a good generic first stride would help wonders. And this is what this is. Also, people are like, oh, what if I want to go back to it if I have less than 3? It's like, well, you probably just go into another stride, right? I would say this, like, if you might just, I talked about before, it's like, if you're at a point where, like, you can't go and held Trotta comfortably by first stride, something has gone horribly wrong with the game. That's what I'm trying to say. But that's all I gotta say about that. And last but not least, we have the G-Guard, the Diva of Salvation, Lucrece. Has the skill auto, when it's used to the guard circle, combos 1, enter a normal unit from your rear guard circle to hand, and perform the following according to the grade of the card returned from hand for this cost. 2 or less, is you get shield plus 15k until end of the battle. 3 or more, choose one of your Vanguards to get powers 5k until end of turn. I have no idea what it's 500, excuse me. You see, you have the English one right there. It doesn't matter. Kind of like, this will probably be short because there's not much to say here. Lucrece is okay. Lucrece is okay G-Guard. I know everyone's talking like, man, free Ellie, but you can never have free Ellie. Ellie is a busted card. A busted card in a clan that has a grade 2 that acts as a heal guard. You cannot bring that card back, especially when it recycles itself. The biggest problem that BT has always had when it's been meta in recent years is it has stellar offense, but also stellar defense. Ellie was pretty much the stellar defense. Not to mention, you remember how powerful Angel was? Angel's literally a deck with a G-Guard that can recycle itself, and can run the ability to have 8 heal guards that are recyclable, and the ability to run 6 perfect guards. The deck was tanky as heck while also having just multi-attack and offensive power up the wazoo. That's why you can't bring Ellie back. You're out your dang mind. I'm gonna tell you straight how it is. You cannot have Ellie back. There's no way you can errata Ellie to bring him back. I would rather have full power Riviere than ever have Ellie back. I would rather have Castile off the ban list than have Ellie back. I would rather, listen, all I'm trying to say is, Lucrece is not Ellie. It can't be Ellie. Ellie is literally a abomination against humanity. But it's still a nice G-Guard regardless. It has issues. Returning a normal unit when you probably would rather like bounce, say, a trigger you kept on board because you called it, etc., would be nice. And for it to be a grade 3 or more means like you only have some limited targets, but 5k for a turn ain't half bad, right? It's a solid G-Guard in a clan that kind of desperately needed something to kind of get them just a little bit there. So all in all, I think that's pretty much it. So that is pretty much all the reveals for this week, which is actually crazy. Man, there was a lot. I think by this point we kind of know what Kai is going to give us on Monday, which is probably just going to be Link Joker again. He could spice it up for us. He might reveal Neo Nectar. But I think for this round, I think seeing more of premium collection this time, I think it's okay. I think so far premium collection hasn't had the crazy cards just out the gate. But then again, we thought about premium collection 1 and we thought about like premium collection 2, and well, let's just say the fact that we're at the point where we're asking for over half of premium collection 1 is still to get banned to this day should probably tell you something. But overall, that's pretty much it for today. I gotta get this. It's 3:38 where I am. I need to get this edited and uploaded and whatnot. So I don't really have much to say. I'll see y'all next time. Bye bye.